Hi folks, hope you're doing well. It's Friday, the 28th of August 2020. There'll be a few subjects in this one. First of all, I was watching something called Fort Salem the other day, and it does get you thinking about witchcraft and whether there's still witches now. Certainly was a belief in that in the past. Again, Salem. Did the things that we're told happened in Salem, did they really happen? Well, the reality is we don't know. Did they happen the way that we're told? Probably not. No. It's quite likely the story has been embellished quite a lot over the years. However, do people still try and practice witchcraft? Yes. Yeah. Are these people dangerous to us as humans or as Christians? I do not know. I really don't know. There's so much about spiritual warfare that I don't understand. I did a short video on it, just explaining the very, very basics of spiritual warfare. Because again, the church, generally speaking, has not preached on it. So I did a video on that a couple of years ago now, I think. But I can't really speak about it much more than that because I don't understand it much more than that. It's not my area. I understand it a little bit, but not very much at all. Oh, it is what it is. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd certainly say there are places. I've been to places where you could certainly say it looks as if they could have been cursed. I mean, one thing I was told years ago when I first became a Christian, that witches would curse an area. They would often use cassette tapes. Then they would take the tape out the cassette, but then throw the cassette around a telephone line or something like that, and it would wrap around, and that would be a curse upon the area. So on that tape, they curse and then wrap it around the line. Or old shoes was another thing that witches would cast a curse upon the area, upon old shoes, and chuck them up. And if they stayed on the line, that curse would hold. Something like that. But again, whether that's all witch tales and nothing to it, I don't know. No idea. But yeah, is it a case where people do try that? Yeah, it is. And spiritual warfare. There's so many areas of spiritual warfare. It's incredible. One area is, two areas of things that I've spoken about recently, about taking the fort, about not taking the fort. That's an area of your own spiritual warfare, about not letting things in. Yeah. And about being led and guided by the Holy Spirit, because that's a part of spiritual warfare. You've been on the right side, being guided by the right side, so the Holy Spirit can guide you if you come into situations of difficulty. Right. Well, it's like personally, I mean, I made a video recently also about depression and about all that, and again, that's looking into spiritual warfare, because these things are spiritual, as well as the fact they're mental and emotional and physical. They're also spiritual. I mentioned in that one that the people that deal with it don't understand the spiritual, so therefore they can't really deal with it because they don't understand one important element of it. So I did this conversation on a walk and talk last night, but stupid drinking phone. So annoying. I paused it partway around, as I always have to when you come in contact with people. You have to pause because you don't want to get the people on video. I put the phone away for a minute, but still paused. When I brought it back up, continued videoing, and now it was upside down. I mean, why is it these blasted phones can't do video and realise that you want it the right way up? Why would you want video upside down? I do not know. I mean, how incredibly stupid are these systems that they think you would want videos to be upside down at any point in time? There should be an option within settings to say you want the video to be upside down. Otherwise, it should always go the right way up, no matter what way you're holding the phone. Because it's utterly ridiculous, especially if you want landscape. You can hold it landscape where, again, you've got one of the buttons to turn the phone off on the top, or you can hold it the other way, so that button's on the bottom. Now, it shouldn't matter. It should be the right way up, whichever way you're holding it. Even if you change the way you're holding it halfway through, it should go the right way up. It shouldn't matter. It should adjust to that and go the right way up. How on earth these systems can't do that, I don't know. I really don't know. It's insane. So I had to delete it because half of the video was the right way up, half was upside down. So not helpful. That seems like a bit of a curse in itself, doesn't it, really, on these phones? But hey ho, I mean, as I said on my walk and talk, I think it's quite likely that through our lifetime we would have come across somebody who practices witchcraft. Some of us will come across people that have actually cursed either someone else or cursed us. Try to. Yeah, that is most likely. So, yeah. I mean, that subject in itself is I'm going to let someone else go into that, really, because there are other people that probably know that area in much more detail. However, I would say if you want to know about it, don't go to a bookshop. Don't go and find a book where someone's charging £20 for this information. It's most likely wrong. It's most likely not going to be correct in any way, shape, or form. Because if someone's given this information by God, that information belongs to God. They shouldn't be charging for it. They should be giving it freely. If God gives me something, then it's my duty to pass it on. If I'm charging you for that, then that's out of order. I shouldn't be doing it. Yeah, I mean, if I were to write a book, I would have that book done in a way that people would give a donation. Now, I'd say if the donation is going towards this situation, whatever this is, or it could even be a donation to, God working in my life and whatever God wants to use that money for. But it'd be up to people to give what they can afford to give. Because I disagree very, very strongly with people making money out of what God has given them and charging people a set price. Because if you're charging £20 or the equivalent of $30 for a book or a CD with the stuff that God has given you in it, what happens if someone's only got $20 or £15? They can't get it, can they? Why should they go without? Now, you could easily come back and say, well, couldn't God give them the money if he wanted them to have that? Yeah, of course. Yeah. But if your book is about how to receive from God, then don't expect people to be able to receive from God without getting that information. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Next subject, cars. I mentioned in a previous video that there was somebody who we were going to get car parts off who said he was going to come round and look at the cars because he thought he could repair them, fix them. He didn't turn up. To be honest, not unusual. Yeah, that was pretty much to be expected. We did take the 2008 down to the next town, had to tow it, much faster road, me in the car that's being towed again. That was a bit concerning, especially as you're going on, you can hear the knock of the bar, and it's like, oh God. Yeah, you've got cars behind you at 40 miles an hour. The last thing you want is for that bar to come loose and you suddenly decelerate incredibly quickly. Yeah. Well, especially if you've got no steering, pretty much, which you haven't. With the engine not on, because it doesn't work, you've got no steering. You've got no power steering at all. Again, people... I said to you that my friend's brother-in-law phoned up the coach company that repairs his vehicles, and they said because he's got the PS light on, that means it's a sensor. It'd be £400 to replace that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. The reason why the PS light is on is because the engine hasn't started. And for example, it says 4-wheel drive on it. Well, normally when the car is working properly, it says 4-wheel drive. All these lights will come up when you first start the car. When you first go into ignition, all these lights come up. They disappear very quickly. As soon as you start the engine, they go. So the PS warning, would that go if the engine started? Probably. So that's a bit of a false message. And, people are being a bit misled, quite possibly, by that message. But anyway, car was taken to a nearby town. A friend of a friend of a friend says he'd be interested in having a look at the car, that he should be able to fix it. So he did the friend of a friend's car when that person's chain slipped in his car, and this person fixed it. So we don't know really with the 2008 Extra what the problem is. So the man could have the car for a while, especially if he can't start the engine, because diagnosing the problem with the engine not starting could be quite tricky. Yeah, because I phoned other places and they've said, well, we can put the diagnostic on so when you start the engine, and I just stop and say, well, the engine won't start. That's the problem. Oh, well, then we don't know what we're doing. So useful. So don't know what's going to happen there. That same person has asked for photos of the 2006 one, of the work that needs to be done with regards to welding. So they can look to see if they can do that. So time will tell with regards to these two cars. No idea what the outcome is going to be. We will see. That's about all I can say, is that we will see, really, because don't know. Right, the third subject, which will be the extreme left. I saw a video yesterday. It was mentioned in the summit I saw yesterday. And I had to go and find it. This actual video. Nigel Farage clashes with political campaigner called Femi. I don't know what Femi's surname is. Femi Oluwole, Oluwole. Oh, I tell you, this man is remarkable. The stuff that this man comes out with, they keep on bringing him up on these programs. This discussion was about the song War Britannia and the fact that the BBC was saying that they would not show the words of the song while it's being played on the proms last night at the proms. And of course, it's been outraged because this was one of the favourite parts of the proms for all those years. So, anyway, so they had this discussion on this morning, the ITV morning breakfast show. And I'll link that. But on that, I think they start with Femi first. And some of the stuff that Femi says is clearly deluded stupidity. I mean, one would have to say that when this man eventually dies, there needs to be great care and concern to see if this man actually has a brain in his head. Some of the stuff that he comes out with is so utterly and totally ridiculous. He was basically quoted a few of the lines from War Britannia. It's about ruling the waves and never being slaves. And he was saying, never being slaves means that we support slavery. We want to enslave people. No. He's talking about the fact that we rule the waves. So now that we rule the waves, we will never be slaves. We will never now be enslaved as a nation. We've had that in the past with the Vikings and the Romans, but we didn't have a navy then. The fact that we now rule the waves means we will never ourselves be slaves. But he had to try and twist it into something racist. Of course, Femi is brown-skinned, so everything to Femi has to be racism. And even some of the stuff he came out with, he was an anti-Brexit campaigner as well. And some of the stuff he came out with then was just utterly insane. Just complete and utter madness. Well, let's make something completely clear. I'm not right-wing. I'm not left-wing. For years I was left-wing. More left-wing than right. Certainly. I was always a Labour supporter, never Tory. Until the last election. And that's only because the Labour had a leader that the policy that he was suggesting, that he was pushing, was something that I could never have got behind. I'm sorry, no, that's just wrong. I'm not talking about he's anti-Jewish, because publicly he didn't really spout any of that. But he seemed quite weak, and certainly when he mentioned with regards to Brexit that the wisest thing to do would be to take away the option of a no deal, because the EU was scared of that option. It seemed to be, well, come on. How can you possibly be a leader and make deals with other nations when you have no concept whatsoever in how to best negotiate? The fact that the EU is scared of a no deal is exactly why that should remain a threat. Because you're trying to get the best deal you can for the UK. That's what you're supposed to be doing. So that's why I couldn't vote for Labour. Plus, the Labour Party were basically saying they were going to ignore the vote of 2016 for the UK to leave the EU. And so, sorry, even if I hadn't voted to leave, which I did at the time, but even if I hadn't voted to leave, I could never have supported a party that was going to ignore the vote of the people. I mean, the whole point of democracy is if you give a vote to the people, you honour the vote because you gave them the vote. So honour it. If you can't do that, you're not exactly an honourable party, are you? That's the reality of the situation. Be honourable. If you can't be honourable, what are you doing? So, and apparently, Femi doesn't even watch the proms. So, being on the program talking about the proms was again a left-wing program getting their brown-skinned left-wing campaigner on, even though he doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. So, of course, Nigel Farage looked like an incredibly intelligent person, which he probably isn't. I don't know. I mean, he knows a bit about what he's talking about, obviously, but is he quite as intelligent as Femi made him look like? Probably not. No. But, I personally don't bother with the right as well, because the right have their extreme views, and I can't support that. No more than I can support the left. I've said before in the video that to me the best option would be to send them all the extremists, right and left, send them all on a desert island. Let them stay there. Feed them. But if they still want to hang on to their extreme views, they can stay there. Society is far better off without them. That has to be reality, really. I mean, to me, I don't think society is served by these people in any way, shape, or form. They come up with some most ridiculous statements, and but they've got some backing, some serious backing, and it's quite likely. People are saying at the moment that Trump's going to win the election because of the left, and that is quite possible. That if the left keep on pushing, the best thing the left can do is shut up. Completely shut up. Don't say a thing. Let Trump tweet. Let him say the most stupid things. Let Trump beat Trump. That's what I said in a video about 6 months ago. The only way to beat Trump is by using Trump. Letting Trump beat himself. You let him continue being Trump, he will lose. But if you try and defeat him, you'll lose. Just leave him to it. Leave him to him. Let him be him. Keep Biden away. Biden, stay home. Stay isolated. Stay home. Don't come out and speak on every single thing you could possibly speak on. And when you do speak, keep it simple. Because in the White House, you've got that bloke who just can't hold back. He can't. Like on the right, you've got that, they believe is a QAnon. And they believe that Trump and this Q are working together, to root out all the bad people from leadership of America and the world. And apparently, Trump and Q are using Robert Mueller to do it. That Robert Mueller is part of that little gang. They badmouthed him. They made him look bad in order to make it look as if they weren't going to use him, even though they were. But first of all, Trump could never keep a secret. Never. Anything that would make him look good, he would. If in all these years, if Trump was ever used by the police as a, what's it called? I had it. I had it, just lost it. Just lost the words. Yeah, like a domestic spy for the police. Yeah. Trump wouldn't be able to keep silent about it. He would come out saying he was the best at that in the world. That there was no one better in the world than him at that. So if he had to be undercover and spy on people for the police or for any agency, he'd be telling those people what he's doing. He'd be telling them he's the best at it. So let Trump beat Trump. That's your only way. He can't stop running his mouth. He can't stop picking fights with people because that's him. He just can't stop doing it. So leave him to it. Let him destroy himself. You try and go toe-to-toe with him, he will win. Especially the left. You keep coming out with these crazy ideas. Trump's people will spin your ideas as being more crazy than his. And he will win. So, yeah. Don't think for a second that I'm in favour of the right or in favour of the left. I'm not. Can't stand either of them. Just can't stand them. I'm not against politics. I'm quite happy to discuss any of this with people. If someone's on the left, I will quite happily sit down with that person and discuss. But if I was talking to Femi, I would tell Femi to just shut up. To not open his mouth ever again. At least before he actually puts his brain in gear. I tend to look for a little on switch behind his ear. To switch his brain on because he seems to not have found it. It's not because he's got brown skin. Not in any way, shape or form. There are some very intelligent people with brown skin, some very stupid people with pinky skin. He just happens to be a very unwise, stupid person with brown skin. I mean, the thing of it is, he wants to have an opinion. He wants all the TV time. And he will go on TV trying to talk about subjects he has very, very little understanding of. And he'll go on other things to do that. And it's like, no, sorry. It's, no. It is what it is. Right, well, you take care, God bless, and I will speak to you soon. Bye-bye.